Don't mind me. I was just revisiting an old friend. Just kidding, guys. What's up? Welcome to VKH Live. I'm your host, Jeff DeWitt, and for this stream, we're going to be talking about something tangentially related to an old friend of many friends of Visual K. Fans of Visual K, I should say, which is DEATHGAZE. They were a much beloved Nagoya K band that disbanded a while ago, to a lot of people's dismay, myself included, Winona included. But the great news is that we actually got a variety of new bands from the former members. We had Orcalade, which is with the former vocalist for Eat You Alive, and also for and also I believe one of the guitarists from DEATHGAZE, and then the ones that I was going to focus on today have had fairly recent releases over the summer that I wanted to catch up on, and so that is Darrell and DEXCORE. So for those of you who are not familiar, we can start with. I'm going to start with DEXCORE. So this is DEXCORE. Pretty intense looking band, obviously. The DEXCORE has members from a few different bands. The drummer is from the drummer is Naoki from DEATHGAZE. So that's where the tie-in for this stream comes into play. So I'll start with them, but just also so you're aware, in case you haven't found out about this, this is Darrell. Darrell is the new band for the former vocalist of DEATHGAZE, I believe he is the only, I believe he's the only former member from DEATHGAZE in the band, and then the rest of the band members are support members from his solo project that he had for like a couple years. So they're both looking really solid, like visually, and then they're both sounding very solid. I see chat approves of the styles. So yeah, that's kind of the general summary of what we're going to cover in this stream. This may be like a shorter stream, kind of more like a commentary, like a YouTube commentary than anything else, but I definitely wanted to catch up on these guys, and I know they had releases come out when we were, handling other things, and I definitely plan to continue to provide coverage of these bands because I know they're of interest to a lot of you guys, they're of interest to myself. I'm actually working on a review for Darrell's first full album, Darkness. But I definitely wanted to just give a quick status update for anybody who was curious about what the deal is with the DEATHGAZEs. You know, like where did they all end up? So, let's jump into DEXCORE. So DEXCORE is only had. Let's see. They've had an album out, but it was a while ago. When I'm thinking about recent stuff, let me see what they had for the album. Maybe it wasn't an album. Okay, well, in terms of the recent stuff, which is what I'm kind of more focused on, they've had like 3 singles in the last year. Particularly the most recent ones being Black Pig, which came out. Well. There was Imitation, I guess we could start with that, which came out December 2017. Then there was Black Pig, which was like a one-off single that came out April 4th. And then most recently you have New Era, which is a single that came out at the end of June. There's 2 editions here, it looks like. What's cool about DEXCORE is that all of their music is available on Spotify and Apple Music. So, so I would definitely go ahead and check out DEXCORE on Apple Music and Spotify if you have one of those, since they're there. I think that's really cool. Darrell, I was not able to find on there, so I don't think they're on there just yet, but they do have full PVs up. by the way. So we covered DEXCORE and Darrell a bit almost a year ago, actually, on our podcast, VKH Breakdown. We covered them and a couple other bands with a similar heavy sound. So there's been like a bit of progress since then, like new releases and things like that, especially with DEXCORE. So when we last checked in, we were talking about Imitation and how we were kind of impressed. We saw like a lot of potential. We were quite interested in where things were going. I think I had said that DEXCORE was the name because it was like they knew that their sound was core, but then like they changed so much between like electronicore, metalcore, deathcore, etc., that they just like threw them all together in a blender and just came out with DEXCORE. That was my suggestion. And then Winona corrected me to what the actual answer probably is, which is they wanted a cool sounding name, and I'm overthinking it. But I still think the point might stand. I don't know. You guys tell me. So the first thing that we can talk about briefly is Black Pig. So one of the things we did speculate on with DEXCORE is that they were going to be the riskiest of the bands. Like that was our impression, is that they were going to be the most experimental, the most like high risk, high reward. They seemed like they were ready to try stuff and maybe fail hard or succeed hard, depending. And so Black Pig was very interesting in that regard. They put out a lyric video for it, and I'm hoping it's a lot of metalheads, kind of the metalhead branded Visual K fan that's watching. Because I'm going to give a little bit of constructive criticism. I know you guys will kind of know where I'm coming from, but the English lyrics to me were very, very cringy on this. It was hard to watch the lyric video. It was hard to read the lyrics. The sound itself is very impressive and how heavy they've managed to get. But I guess my main critique of this single, and I'll get this out of the way as much as I can, as quick as I can, but it's like it was too. It sounded like they were trying to be Western. It just like way too hard. Actually, I would say if you compare like the intro, like the opening to Black Pig to the opening for Reign of Darkness by Thy Art Is Murder, which is like a infamous, iconic modern deathcore song. It's a very similar style. You can just kind of see it's at least the song structure is very similar in the beginning, and that kind of caught me off. I kind of was picked up on that just since I listen to those kinds of bands on occasion and stuff like that. I did notice, Lauren Evett does say in the chat, I like the song, but it's better not to dwell on the lyrics. That was going to be my next point, is that this is an enjoyable song if you don't think about the lyrics. The lyrics are just very uncomfortably, a lot of English, as they say, but it's like a lot of, it's their attempt at like having English lyrics of like a lot of metal cliches, like a lot of platitudes about money and greediness and stuff like that. So wasn't really for me. It was interesting because it was really them going all out in a way. It was them going very heavy. It was them going very, very heavy, so heavy. But it's overall, I would say it's like a growing pains single for sure. I think they know that. I think they knew that. I think that's why it was a one-off, and you just got a lyric video for it, and they knew it was a banger because it was like super heavy, but they knew that it was like they were trying things, and that's fine. That's totally fine. So New Era, on the other hand, this single, which came out at the end of June, I very much enjoy certain aspects about the single, and other aspects they're actually growing on me. I was so the title track, New Era, is kind of confusing to listen to, I guess, because just from listening to Black Pig and Imitation before it I kind of wasn't expecting the sort of I don't know, like the anthemic kind of singing in the choruses. I wasn't expecting a ton of singing, in the verses. I mean, in the verses. So I thought it was interesting that they kind of had this song that fused like that kind of anime opening kind of song archetype, but they did actually fuse it with like metalcore, deathcore, gentcore, like a lot of the cores. Because this song does deviate from that structure quite a bit. They do go into breakdowns. They do go get really heavy. The breakdown in the bridge is like really like intense. It's like when he goes like, he growls like motherfucking break it down, and then it's just like super, super heavy. Maybe if there's like a more musically inclined like person in the chat, like a musician or something, you can tell me if like the crazy drums that I heard in there, if that was a drum machine or if that was just the former DEATHGAZE drummer playing. I'm kind of inclined to believe it could have been either one, but it just sounded really slick either way. It was like some nice solid ear candy just planted right in there that made me do a double take, like, all right, well, maybe I'll take this song a little bit more seriously, and so since then I've been replaying it and listening to all those different deviations, and I'm enjoying it more and more every time I play that track. So good on them for that. More experimentation is what I would consider that. Trying to figure out how to make like maybe song structures that they're used to hearing from other people in their scene, that like have like clean vocals and kind of impactful moments like they have during the chorus, and then mixing it with like rough vocals and rough singing and things like that. I think they did a good job. Kind of reaffirms that this is a very ambitious project. I do want to talk about the B-sides, though, because I was very surprised by the B-sides. The B-sides are very enjoyable. I would say Magnet and the Sky is Crying, they caught me off guard because by the titles, I would assume that Magnet would be some kind of crazy, banger of a B-side. And then The Sky is Crying would be a... let's see, the Sky is Crying would be like a ballad, but in fact it was the other way around, which is fine. It's just they definitely caught me off guard with that. So Magnet is a, I mean it's a metalcore ballad, I guess, if that's how you want to call it. Like there's breakdowns and screaming and stuff, but it's about, like, if I had to imagine what a DEXCORE ballad would sound like, that's what Magnet is, and it's nice and it's passionate and it's impactful. The Sky is Crying, on the other hand, is excellent. It's wonderful. It's brutally heavy. It's electronic core is how I would classify it. They're playing around with like some really tight electronic or EDM notes that are like kind of like playing in the background as they just do this really intense screaming and breakdowns and stuff. So I would definitely recommend checking out the B-sides because they're different from the A-side. I would argue that The Sky is Crying could have been the lead single, or the lead track. I think they would have got a lot more attention because it's very much like, it reminds me of like if they had put that as the lead track, it could have been like how Nocturnal Bloodlust is with their lead tracks, which is that a lot of the times their lead track is their absolutely most vicious song on the single. So DEXCORE is absolutely the kind of band that could lean into that and just really like run with it that way if they want to. But I was pleasantly surprised. That's been an ongoing theme of this weekend, by the way, because we've done a lot of different listening party streams where I've been reacting live to different singles and albums from bands that you know, I was either like aware of and just like it didn't have expectations one way or the other, or bands like Jupiter that I like normally put on the side and sometimes check out, but it's not usually my thing. I've been pleasantly surprised every time that I dig in and listen to the full thing, the full, either the full EP or the full album, because there's a lot of depth in the B-sides lately with the releases that have come out. So good on indie visual K bands in general. B-sides are quite high quality lately, and DEXCORE is no exception to that. So yeah. So Asuka in the chat says regarding Black Pig, I believe that it sounds very Western core. She agrees, and that honestly, it's not her thing. And then Lauren also likes the B-sides better as well. So okay, cool. So yeah, that's about all there is to talk about for DEXCORE. I wish there was more to talk about. They have a single coming out in November. We'll be reporting that with details on where you can get that for sure. I'm just looking forward to seeing more music from them. I'm curious to see what an album would be like from them, but I don't know if they're ready for a full album just yet. They seem to be doing a good job building up their style and substance and you know, sharpening the iron, so to speak, sharpening the metal. Sorry. You know, with these singles. So looking forward to another one. Looking forward to what they try next. Very experimental band. You know, like I said, very high risk, high reward. So we'll see what they come up with next. But yeah, so moving on from them, let's talk about Darrell for a little bit. So yeah, so the thing about Darrell's music is that it is the more direct continuation of DEATHGAZE's music. And, you know, that's kind of because, I mean, you've got I as the vocalist, and if you had been following his solo project, you could kind of see it's like, oh, okay, the spirit of DEATHGAZE kind of lives on in I quite a bit, you know. Even though, you know, he, even at the end, even as far back as like the last album that DEATHGAZE released, he was already experimenting with different kinds of styles and sounds. I don't know if you guys remember the Underworld off of their very last album that they put out, but it was very different from like the metal and the metalcore that they're usually putting out. It was you know, it was very good too. I was very pleasantly surprised. You know, so it made it that much more depressing that they disbanded after that, because it's like, well, wait, you just tried something very new, and you know, you guys just are usually very good at just like honing your craft and getting better and better. But yeah, anyway, I digress. So the big thing about Darrell, what's different with their sound from DEATHGAZE, and I'm going to be going over this in the review a bit too, but they kind of take the old very emotional, very Nagoya, very metalcore style and sound and energy from DEATHGAZE, and they present it in the form of like a thrash metal reimagining of it. I was doing some research into whether or not this music could be considered thrashcore, and apparently there's like this wonderful debate in every comment section ever about whether a song is thrashcore or if it's crossover thrash. But basically, like, think of Slayer, you know, like kind of Bay Area thrash metal, but set to like those DEATHGAZE kind of metalcore breakdowns and some instrumentations and stuff. So it's a little bit of both, and it comes out really well, especially on their full album that they put out, which is called Darkness or Darksness. It's spelled with an X instead of a K. Yeah, so they had just put out their first full album, and so I've been listening through that. Definitely planning on reviewing it. You know, hopefully have it out this week. But it's definitely worth sharing, like, first impressions, and I'm curious to see what you guys think as well. If you've been able to hear the album, I was really surprised at how much they were able to preserve DEATHGAZE's sound, while keeping it in the context of like something new. And the thrash core or crossover thrash, whatever you want to call it, the thrash sound really did put a different spin on it for me enough that it's like, it really felt like a something old, something new kind of album, and I was very happy with it. It's very consistent all the way through. So, but I would say DEATHGAZE was never known for their, serious diversity of sound. They really take their, whatever specific blend of metal they're focusing on, and they just do that in different song structures as much as they can. But they have every kind of DEATHGAZE sound on here that I am familiar with, like the energetic metal song that's got like the melodic, clean vocals in the chorus and maybe a little screaming in the verses. They have the more rapid, metalcore songs. That's, I guess it's not metalcore. It's more like technical. It's not technical. It's like, I don't know what you'd call it. It's very, very, very fast guitar riffs, very, very dope breakdowns, blazing fast guitar solos. So like Dead Blaze and Ring the Death Knell and stuff like that. All of those kinds of songs are, and then like, I don't know if you guys remember, they would just have those random tracks. I'm drawing a blank on one right now. Maybe like Crash Down is one of them, where it's just like it's almost more like a sound bite, or like a just like a one-off recording they did, where they're just going all out, like really heavy and just not giving a fuck in general on the song, and it's just all about being heavy and just getting it all out there. And they usually put that somewhere in the middle of the album, I guess, or maybe towards the back. All of those sounds I feel are represented fairly well in the album. I like recognized all of those styles and sounds and stuff like that. But they're all done inside of this like thrash pretext, where it's like you have like these, like these rough thrash, like da 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 da. But then it'll get really fast with like the metalcore. Like, I have horrible rhythm, I'm so sorry, but it's just like da 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 da. But so it'll bounce back and forth sometimes, and then sometimes it'll overlap. So you're literally dealing with thrash thrashcore. I almost said crashcore. Crashcore sounds like a dope genre name. But yeah, so I was very happy with this album. It's a good solid first start. I think the songs are all very much in the same vein. It's the kind of thing you can play while you go work out, and it'll just kind of play in the background, and you don't have to pay too much attention to it. So if it's something you're looking to like really engage you the entire time, some of the tracks may be a little too similar for that. I think that's something they can improve over time, if they want to. Because, DEATHGAZE was always kind of like that with their albums. So it kind of made their albums kind of difficult for me to listen to, like, intently. They would just be good for me to play in the background as I'm doing something else. Just serves as good, energetic background music. But they do mix it up quite a bit. I would say my favorite tracks are Garbage Freak, which is just an intro track, has got, like, a great riff for starters. And then... What were the single tracks and then the lead track? So yeah, the Dead Inside, Quinn, and Darkness, I think, were all very strong. And then another song that stuck out to me as being so strong it could have been a PV track is Joker Is a Fucker a Go-Go, which is like, okay, great song name, 10 out of 10. It's really solid. It's like a thrash reimagining of songs like Ring the Death Knell, or The End, or even Dead Blaze. Like, and those were always my favorite kinds of DEATHGAZE songs, where it's just really heavy and really emotional at the same time, and then it's like they're showing off like the best of their technical skills. There's always a blazing guitar solo. And it's just like a really good time. And I don't think I'm alone in that. Those are usually their most viewed, like PVs and whatnot. So had a lot of fun with that song. I definitely replay that a lot. So I'm really looking forward. They're really on good footing with this album. Like, it's really solid. It's a really solid start. No real concerns. I wasn't sure if this is the way they were going to go in terms of being like, all right, we're bringing back DEATHGAZE sound and now we're doing it just in a new way. I didn't know if they were going to go. I couldn't tell from the singles too much. If they were going to, like, they were doing the thrash sound, but they're not going to make any songs that sound like DEATHGAZE songs or anything like that. But now that it's clearly presented in this album that, like, this is DEATHGAZE 2.0 reincarnated in thrash core form, and it's good. It's solid. So, so to sum up, if you're missing these guys, if you're missing DEATHGAZE, they do live on in different ways. I would consider DEXCORE to be not really an extension of DEATHGAZE too much, but it is really solid, really interesting and experimental metalcore, or just like, hardcore. They're just sampling from the different hardcore, extreme metal crossover genres. And then as for Darrell is DEATHGAZE 2.0 as far as I'm concerned. Like, that is where you should go if you want to get your DEATHGAZE fix. I has definitely brought that sound back, and it sounds really good. It's a really cool trick he's doing with incorporating the thrash metal. I don't know any other bands that are playing with thrash metal right now. And then in the future, I hope to see a newer release from Orcalade, which has one of the guitarists from DEATHGAZE in it. Like I said, as well as the former vocalist from Eat You Alive, who's another much missed defunct Nagoya K band. They did put out an album, or a mini album, called Espada at the end of last year, or at the beginning of last year, but I haven't heard anything from them since. It was amazing. It was interesting. But I unfortunately don't have anything to cover from them, because I haven't seen any activity from them since then. So hopefully that they stick together and that they're working on something, because that would be a really cool, really awesome thing to see at a third, like, Nagoya resurgence band. So okay, so Asuka says you can get the album on iTunes, Amazon MP3, and Google Play. Okay, great. That's awesome. That's good to know. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I didn't check iTunes. It was it's not on Apple Music, but I keep forgetting that they are sometimes on iTunes. Cool. So so if you guys have Amazon, I don't know if Amazon MP3 goes with Amazon Prime, but definitely check out iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play for Darkness. Definitely recommend it. It's definitely a buy from me. Since that's the situation we're faced with, since it's not on streaming services, I would definitely buy it. And then Lauren says she really loves Quinn. Yeah, I agree. It is definitely definitely an enjoyable track. So that's about it. Thanks everyone for showing up. Like I said, just wanted to give some brief commentary, touch base. Been doing a lot of streams with a lot of different genres this weekend. Definitely wanted to make sure we got to some of the Nagoya K bands and some of the metalcore music. If you're into music like this, you can definitely keep an eye out for reviews and streams for recent albums that have come out that are kind of more on the heavy side, like Arshite, Mamireta. I'm going to be covering them and a few others in the upcoming after hours stream tonight at 9:30. And then in the future, we're going to be writing reviews and doing streams for I haven't decided which is which, but Dimlim and Desert both put out full albums on 8/8 this week, so you can definitely look forward to more coverage in whatever form for both of those. As always, let me know if you have any requests for reviews or stream topics or anything like that. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks a bunch, guys, for showing up, and I will talk to you later. Peace.